The simplified cognitive model doesn't capture the complexity of clients' thoughts and reactions when they have multiple automatic thoughts about a situation, when they then have thoughts about their thoughts, or they have thoughts about their reactions, or when a series of situations occur. In the next video, Jim tells an extended story about a recent experience. Watch it, and then we'll map out each part that Jim describes. Okay, Jim, so do you want to talk now about what happened at the playground?
Yeah, so I had the kids this past weekend, and we were going to go to the playground. Yeah. And just the whole experience was a total disaster.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just starting from even, before we got to the playground. So I got there, a few minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes late, and, their mother was very upset. So, I had to hear, from her about how late I was, and she went on about that.
So your wife really criticized you?
Yeah. And, once we got in the car, we're on our way to the playground.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? So your wife criticized you, and how did you end up feeling?
I felt bad. I felt like, that I messed up, by, getting there late, and I should have been there on time.
And you felt pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then what happened? You said you got to the playground?
So even before we got to the playground, on the way, the kids were fighting in the car. They're arguing. So I had the two younger ones in the back seat, and they're just kind of, arguing about anything. It seemed like, one's leg was too close to the other, and one was on the phone, and it was just constant back and forth.
What went through your mind as they were fighting?
Well, that I couldn't control them. I told them, to kind of, quiet down, and, we're almost there, but they didn't listen, and it just kind of continued to go back and forth.
So I can't control them, they're not listening.
Right.
And how do those thoughts make you feel?
It made me feel like I'm, losing control over the kids, or I can't control them, and I'm not doing a good job as being a dad.
And when you had the thoughts, I'm losing control, I'm not doing a good job being a dad, did you feel happy or sad or angry? Felt sad, yeah. And then what happened?
So once we got to the playground, I sat there once, they, went to the swings and to the jungle gym area and such. I kind of had a couple moments there where I just felt like I really missed, being out there with them. It felt like it was so long, and that I got a chance to take them to the playground, because I don't see them as often anymore. So, those, it just kind of really hit home that I miss being out there with them.
So you had thoughts like, I really miss being out here with them. I don't get to see them very often. And those thoughts make you feel sad?
Felt me feel very sad. Yeah.
Anything else that happened?
And so, usually. Me and my youngest, he gets on the swings, and I'll push him, and that's just something that we share.
Yeah.
And this time around, he didn't want me to push him on the swing. He said, I can do it myself, Dad. And I just kind of sat there and watched, and I said, are you sure I can, And he said, no, I can do it. I'm fine, Dad. And
how'd that make you feel?
It made me feel even more sad, because I felt like, that was something that we shared, and since I'm not around anymore, I felt like, I'm not needed, or I felt like, that, we just don't have enough time together. He's kind of drifting away.
I see. Anything else that was distressing while you were at the playground?
No, that was it. Just, just kind of all of that kind of happening, just, it wasn't a really great outing or experience with all that happening, with the fighting, and then, not being out there with him, and then, not being able to interact with my youngest son. That's something that I really look forward to doing, I wasn't able to do.
So what was the most upsetting part of the whole experience? Was it when you picked them up and your wife criticized you? Was it when they were fighting in the car? Was it missing being with them? Or was it when your son didn't want you to push him on the swing?
Probably just not being out there with them, because it was something that we, really enjoy doing, And, being that I don't see them anymore as much, we don't get a chance to do that. So it was just that,
So you really missed that part of it.
yeah.
And so you had the thought, I really miss being out here with them. I don't see them very often. Do you think you had any distorted thoughts about this? Because those sound like very, regular human, non-depressed kinds of thoughts.
Well, I felt like if this continues, they're not gonna, want to go maybe to the playground with me at all.
I see.
I feel like I'm gonna lose them. They're not gonna want to be, with me or go out with me anymore.
Right. Here's what the extended cognitive model looks like for this problem. Notice that I put question marks for data that Jim hadn't provided. Reflection question. Did your diagram look like this one? And here's your exercise. Role play with your partner. The client could either be Jim or a real-life client. Fill out an extended cognitive model as you go. Time for reflection. Did you have any questions about this exercise? If so, please post on the forum.